So what we've been able to do regarding the house of Saul is we have been able to use or attest using archaeology the Sheshonq campaign list, and then positive vague northern traditions regarding the house of Saul in the Hebrew text. And what we've come out with is the first recorded North Israelite territorial entity, which will be the house of Saul. So this is what we've been able to reconstruct using archaeology, the Sheshonq campaign list, positive, vague northern traditions regarding the house of Saul in the biblical text. We've been able to conclude or propose that this is the first recorded North Israelite territorial entity. And this entity probably stretched over a large area. The entire northern part of the central hill country, and then the western Gilead, and they attempted to push into the Jezreel Valley, as we've seen, and then the coastal plain. This coastal plain will become important very soon. Here, the coastal plain. This expansion collided with the renewed interest of Egypt in Canaan. Sheshonq I assaulted this Gibeon, Bethel political entity and brought about its decline. And this is how what we read in the biblical text about the end of Saul, from the historical perspective, this is how we can reconstruct it. Okay, now I have a question. It's been argued that the land of Benjamin, and with it, the area of Gibeon and Bethel, as you see on my screen, belong to the southern entity. And the argument is that it belonged to the south throughout the Bronze and Iron Ages, from the 15th all the way to the 586. How accurate is that? Is Benjamin north or south? Let me read 1 Samuel 9 and then we can discuss it. Now there was a man of Benjamin, and his name was Kish, the son of Abiel, the son of Zerah, the son of Bechorath, the son of Appiah, the son of a Benjamite man, a mighty man of power, and he had a son whose name was Saul. He was young and handsome, there being no one of the children of Israel handsomer than he. From his shoulders and upwards, he was taller than any of the people. Clearly, we know that Saul is from Benjamin. But the question is the land of Benjamin north or is the land of Benjamin south? There are arguments, not from anybody, regular Joe Blow on the street, but some scholars. If you want to read a full argument, I can send you an article where it is argued that the land of Benjamin, not only Benjamin, but with the area of Gibeon and Bethel, where we know that Saul's dynasty, that was their hub, it's argued that it belongs to the southern entity, that would be Judah, and the argument is that it belongs to them through the Bronze and Iron Age. Okay. So now we have to find out, is it south or is it north? When we read 1 Kings 12, it speaks of Benjamin as part of Judah. 1 Kings 12, and and Rehoboam came to Jerusalem, and he assembled all the house of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin, 180,000 chosen warriors, to wage war with the house of Israel. So now the house of Benjamin and Judah, they are waging war against the house of Israel. When you come to 26, speak to Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all the house of Judah and Benjamin. So 1 Kings 12, 21 to 24 speaks of Benjamin as part of Judah as early as the secession of the northern tribes in the days of Jeroboam the first. This is what 1 Kings tells us. As early as Jeroboam the first. That's quite interesting. Okay, let's get more data from the book of Kings. 1 Kings 15. King Asa proclaimed to all Judah without exception, and they carried the stones of the high tower and its timber with which Baasha had built it. And King Asa built with it Gibah of Benjamin and Mizpah. So here, 1 Kings 15, 16 to 22, draws the border with Israel north of Mizpah. This is what we get. So 1 Kings is telling us that this is southern. Benjamin belongs to the south. Just as this verse, chapter and verses, draw the border with Israel north of Mizpah, when they join the border, they include Benjamin. The book of Joshua also follows suit in the description of the tribal boundaries. Joshua tells us that, what's his name? Benjamin is south, not north. So, what is going on? We know Benjamin is northern. Why is the text telling us that it's southern? So the arguments about Benjamin being south can be proven in the biblical text. But these arguments are mainly based on interpretations of the Hebrew text. It's made, this is critical, based on the state of affairs in late monarchic times. You're looking at the 8th and 7th centuries. And then what they do is they then reproject this situation into earlier periods in Judahite history. So you're looking at a situation at a certain time, 8th and 7th century, and you're taking it and then you were reprojecting it to an earlier period. That is what the argument is based on. And those that make this argument, it means that they are relying on Deuteronomistic texts, which we all know one cannot rely on in reconstructing most situations in the biblical text. So what one needs to do, not to be biased, to look at the correct picture, is we have to use earlier texts that are non-Jerusalem in origin. And even these earlier texts, the Deuteronomistic writers, they've redacted it in constructing whatever situation they want to paint. But we do have the texts that would speak from a northern angle. The Deuteronomistic writers, 1 Kings, 2 Kings, they're all Deuteronomistic, they've made a claim that the south, or Benjamin, belongs to the south. What we're arguing is that you're looking at a situation from the late 8th and 7th centuries, and you're projecting it to an earlier date. What we should do rather is consult pre-Deuteronomistic texts, texts that predates what the Deuteronomistic writers wrote, texts that are non-Jerusalem in origin. When we look at those texts, what do they tell us? So what texts should we be looking at that are northern? Well, we can look at the book of Saviors in Judges. We can look at pro-Saul and anti-Davidic material in the book of Samuel because they preserve both. We can look at material in the Elijah-Elisha cycle of kings because these better depict the situation before the 8th century. And they are free of this Judahite theology or ideology or territorial ideology. And we can also use archaeology to answer the question. What does the historical account tell us? What does the archaeological account tell us? The land of Benjamin was dominated by the northern kingdom until the decline of the Omride dynasty in the late 8th century. You're looking at 842 BCE. It was then taken over by Judah in the time of King Jehoash. And he was a vassal to Aram, Damascus. So the land of Benjamin, like I was saying, was dominated by the northern kingdom until we have the decline of the Omride dynasty. You're looking at the 842 BCE. This is when it was taken over by Judah. This is when Judah dominated the region, which is attested in archaeological records. It starts from the late 8th century and it continues until exilic times. So what those arguing about Benjamin belonging to the south, they're taking something that happened after the Omrides and they are projecting it from the 8th century and they're trying to put it to the 11th century BCE. So when you read in the book of Kings, this is a Deuteronomistic writer telling us, taking something from the 8th century and projecting it onto an earlier date. But when one turns to northern texts or northern traditions, in various parts of the Hebrew text, a different picture emerges. What is our conclusion when we do this? The land of Benjamin was dominated by the northern kingdom until the decline of the Omride dynasty. It was after the Omride dynasty that King Jehoash, who was a vassal of Aram Damascus, dominates this region. So no, Benjamin is not south. Benjamin is north. Benjamin is described as the southernmost tribe of the house of Joseph in the book of Genesis. In the story of the birth of Jacob's sons, Benjamin is described as the southernmost tribe of the house of Joseph. This is the northern tradition. This tradition predates the Deuteronomistic writer's version. When you look in the book of Judges, as Mr. Mark has just written, The Ehud story associates Benjamin, Jericho, and the hill country of Ephraim. We see that in Judges 3. This is a northern tradition. When we go to the book of Saviors, the book of Judges, it places the northern prophetess Deborah between Bethel and Ramah. Judges 4. Now Deborah was a woman prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth. She judged Israel at that time, and she sat under the palm tree of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the mountain of Ephraim. This is a pure northern tradition before the south. When you look at the Song of Deborah, it includes Benjamin among the northern tribes. I want to read this song because Mr. Jason mentioned something, I believe, 2 weeks ago when he talks about Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Now Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang on that day, saying, when breaches are made in Israel, when the people offer themselves willingly, bless Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. Hear, O kings, give ear, O princes. To Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh I shall sing. I shall sing to Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the Elohim of Israel. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. When you went forth out of Seir, this is one of the most oldest writing in the biblical text, this poem. He says, when you went out of Seir, we know where Seir is, and you marched out of the field of Edom, that is where Seir is. The earth trembled, the heavens also dripped, also the clouds dripped water. So Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is coming from somewhere, not Israel. It's coming from Edom, territory of Sinai. Verse 5. The mountains melted at the presence of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. This was at Sinai. Let me pause and say this. You have a northern tradition that predates the south by many years, and the tradition in verses 5 here in the poem puts Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh at Sinai. Okay. Is it not interesting that the north or the south comes up with an Exodus tradition? They take the North's Exodus tradition and then we end up at Sinai. Just think about that. The mountains melted at the presence of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. This was at Sinai. Because of the presence of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the Elohim of Israel, in the days of Shamgar, the son of Anak, in the days of Jael, caravans ceased and travelers walked on crooked paths. The open cities ceased. In Israel, they ceased until I, Deborah, arose. I arose as a mother in Israel. When they chose new gods, then there was war in the cities. Was there seen a shield or a spear? When the 40,000 went against Israel? My heart is towards the lawgivers of Israel. They offered themselves willingly among the people. Bless Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. The riders of white donkeys, those that sit in judgment, and those that walk on the path, tell of it. Instead of the noise of adversaries, between the places of drawing water, there they would tell the righteous acts of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, the righteous acts of restoring open cities in Israel. Then the people of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh went down to the cities. Praise, praise Deborah, praise, praise, utter a song. Arise, Barak, and capture your captives, son of Abinoam. Then ruled a remnant among the mighty of the nations. Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh dominated the strong for me. And then we are told, out of Ephraim, whose root was against Amalek, after you will be Benjamin with your abaters. We notice in the Song of Deborah, Judah is not part of it. Judah is not mentioned. But this northern tradition preserves the fact that Benjamin belongs to the north. Remember Shimei, the one who accused David. And King David came to Bahurim, and behold, there came out of there a man from the family of the house of Saul, whose name was Shimei. This guy is from Benjamin. So the text positions Benjamin with Israel in opposition to David. This guy was opposing David, the house of Judah, for what he had done to the house of Saul, which is Benjamin in the north. So we can see Shimei, the son of Gera, the succession history of David when he was kicked out, chased out by his son. We see that Benjamin belongs to the north as well. Then we come to the northern prophets, Hosea, and he tells us, since the days of Gibeah, where Saul comes from, you have sinned, O Israel. He's talking to the north, the prophet of the north. In Hosea 10:8, he tells us, Ephraim is a prophet with my God. For the prophet, they lay a fowler's snare on all his ways, causing hatred in the house of his God. They have deeply corrupted themselves as in the days of Gibeah. This is a northern prophet associating Gibeah to the north, to Benjamin. So in addition to Benjamin being described as the southernmost tribe of the house of Joseph, the Ehud story, the book of survivors, the Song of Deborah, Shimei the son of Gera, his accusation, and the northern prophet, which refers to the sin of Gibeah in connection to Israel. Not Judah, not the south. And then Benjamin is the son of the south. Doesn't mean that he's the son of Judah in the southern part of Israel, but it indicates its location as the southern end of the territory of Israel. So the argument that Benjamin is south is not accurate. It was north. It's always been north. It was when we had the fall of the Omride dynasty that the south dominated that place till exilic times.